everybody. It's Allie, and welcome to our Y&R Chat for Sunday, October 20th, 2024. So Daniel's girlfriend has just been murdered. Evidence against him has been planted in the apartment. The cops are breathing down Daniel's neck. Hey, Phyllis, do you think now might be a good time to tell your life story? Really? Right now is a good time for this? Wait a minute. I mean, that episode started out with, wow, Daniel is in deep trouble. We have got to figure out a way to help him. And then Phyllis found a way to make it all about Phyllis. Which is so completely Phyllis. That's the Phyllis-est thing I've ever Phyllis did. It's absolutely perfect. Daniel is going through a trauma. His life is on the line. Oh, hey, Phyllis, you want to talk about you? Was this situation not enough about you? Oh. That being said, the Phyllis flashback episode was so good. I love Michelle Stafford. She is the truest diva of daytime for 30 years now. And you know, this is coming from someone who did not always appreciate the Phyllis. In fact, back in the Danny days, I would fast forward her scenes. Shh, don't tell anybody. It's the only time I can ever remember in my full history of watching Y&R that I actually remember, like, I can't handle this. I gotta fast forward the scenes. Because after a while, it was just so tedious to watch her scheming day after day. It was just endless. I mean, even the infamous octopus in the bed incident, which we saw in flashback this week, I remember not really caring for that at the time because it was just more over the top in a series of over the tops, and it was just too much over the top for me. Too much over the top for 14-year-old Allie. 44-year-old Allie, no problem. Loves it. But I didn't love it, and I didn't love her at the time. But then Y&R brought her back, and they reformed her. They made Phyllis about more than just Danny. She was no longer just this one-dimensional Danny catcher. She had a whole life. She was a whole person. And she fell in love with Jack. And she became this glamorous leading lady. And it just, you know, it totally turned me around on her. And it was very interesting to me that during this flashback episode, we spent an awful lot of time focusing on Phyllis's relationship with Jack. In fact, I feel like we were focused more on that period than any other period. And that's great because Jack and Phyllis's love story was so incredible. It was just so believable, and they were such an unexpected match, and the whole thing had a very slow burn quality about it. I mean, Phyllis and Jack were on fire. until they wanted to take their relationship to the next level and have a baby, and they had trouble conceiving, and then they lost a baby, and then Diane appeared with one, and Phyllis got pregnant by Nick. Who knew that was possible? Apparently Nick did the trick. And that broke up Sharon and Nick's marriage, and we all know the rest is history. I did really appreciate the tie-in to the current situation when Daniel said so much goes back to Cassie's death, and it really, really is true. That was one of those pivotal moments in Y&R history that just changed everything. Cassie's death obviously is what ultimately brought Phyllis and Nick together. But, there wasn't a ton of time spent on that. And there was not a ton of time spent on Phyllis's rivalry with Sharon. We got the great chocolate fountain scene. Thanks so very much. But the affair with Nick and the rivalry with Sharon, those are probably the storylines that Phyllis is best known for. The hookup with Nick, the rivalry with Sharon, of course the rivalry with Christine over Danny. Then you have losing her son, her marriage to Jack. I mean, it was all there with a lot of flashbacks that we haven't seen. I mean, Phyllis dressed like a man and dressed as kind of like a chubby blonde reporter lady. And how about the Christmas lingerie? The Christmas lingerie! Did you see the bod on her? I mean, when she flashed that Christmas lingerie to Jack, I gasped. It was the most gorgeous thing I've ever seen in my life. I mean, all of the Christmas decorations are in the background, and the way he picked her up and carried her, I mean, that was romance. That was daytime back in the day. What a treat. What an absolute treat to have this retrospective, especially following right after Sharon's retrospective for her 30-year anniversary. It's funny, I never realized that Phyllis and Sharon were both characters introduced onto the show in the same year, 1994. That must have been a good year for Y&R. They were really investing in the show. I don't remember Phyllis and Sharon, although they came on at the same time, I don't remember them ever interacting with one another. I don't remember them ever crossing paths until Cassie's death, and obviously that's history. But before that, I feel like Sharon and Phyllis were in two completely different generational stories. Sharon was in the teen scene, and Phyllis was 30 in 1994, so they were just at completely opposite places, and yet you think of them both in a way at the same time. They're each other's equal in a way. It's just crazy. It's just crazy. And I think that's a very good word to describe Phyllis too. Crazy. But also sexy and cool. She is crazy and sexy and cool. I mean, there have been 2 other Phyllises, but there is only one Michelle Stafford. So I have to just say congratulations, Michelle Stafford, and thank you for 30 years of awesome. When I commit a murder, I always like to hide the evidence in my own house and then invite the friendly neighborhood cop over to just have a look around. Come on, Chance. It is a setup, bro. Listen to Phyllis. Phyllis is on the right track here. It was actually Phyllis who encouraged Daniel to let the apartment be searched by Chance. I thought that was rather surprising that Phyllis in the first place would be telling Daniel to cooperate with the authorities. That is not very Phyllis-like. But the idea was, okay, let's let Chance search the place and maybe he will find something that will help us understand what happened to Heather. Nobody expected to find Heather's phone and a big old bloody towel crammed right there into the living room credenza. Or maybe it's a dining room next to the banana pancake eating table. And where Danny had his special sauce pasta table. So yeah, it's the dining room. Tasty. That's where I like to store my bloody towels, right next to where me and my family eat. But the phone was found. Worse, the passcode had been changed, so Daniel had to go out of his way to change the passcode so that Chance could find more planted evidence against him on the phone. Ugh! I mean, having to go through the whole two-factor authentication process is bad enough, and now there's a text message on Heather's phone that was sent to draft just so that it'd definitely be there. And it's supposedly from Heather to her father, Paul, saying that she and Daniel were arguing and Daniel is just being scary. So she and Heather might have to come to Lisbon, flee to Lisbon soon. These arguments keep coming up. The point keeps coming up. Arguments. And they're arguments that Daniel doesn't remember happening. He has to be questioning himself, like, was I misperceiving this? Sharon said to Chance that Heather told her that she and Daniel were arguing on the night that she died, and now there's planted evidence in Daniel's house. I mean, come on. Throw the book at her. It's Sharon. Why isn't anybody asking Sharon? Why isn't anybody running a search on Sharon's house or Sharon's car? I mean, the absolute second that Daniel laid it all out for Phyllis, she knew immediately. Something ain't right here. Sharon's been off her rocker. Now she's the one giving this information to the police, and now all of a sudden the phone's there when she's the one who I saw threatening Heather in public. I mean, Phyllis could testify to that. Of course Sharon's involved in it. Of course, I'm omniscient, so I know that. But still, it's infuriating. Like, someone, come on. I don't know. I guess it can't be long now. And this has got to all come out soon. But then again, it's not like they have any evidence against Sharon. All the evidence is against Daniel. Daniel is like losing his mind, wondering if he is going to also be losing his freedom. He's losing his apartment. He's been told to get out, find another place to live. Your house is a crime scene now. And meanwhile, Sharon's doing great. Sharon's having the time of her life. And she really knows how to throw a picnic, let me tell you. She had a whole sunflower theme going on. She had a big bunch of sunflowers for decor. She put on her sunflower necklace and she laid out a blanket in the middle of the park. She cooked those chocolate chip cookies that Nick likes. Sharon knows how much Nick likes her cookies, and so she served them to him right on a platter, right in the open, as Daniel's grieving. And she has everything to do with it. Oh, would you like some champagne? I'm not having any. I wouldn't want to mix alcohol with my new meds. See? I'm super okay. Lily's retaliation against Victor is to go after Billy. Hergity worgity, I don't get it. Well, I have so many questions for you, Lily. I'll make a list. Ready? Number 1. By going after Billy, you're probably only helping Victor. Do you realize that? You're just completing Victor's agenda for him. And number 2 question, I'm all for you bringing Jill in on the situation. Why didn't you do it a month ago? Like, Jill should have been Lily's first call when she got fired. Like, yeah, heart condition, I get it, but she's fine. She can hold a phone. So Lily needed to tell Jill that Billy fired her a month ago when it happened. Jill was her boss, not Billy. And also, I mean, Lily could have been the one to tell Jill that Billy hired Phyllis, or that, you know, the only actual chancellor at Abbott Chancellor is gone. Chance. I mean, Billy should have been the one to tell Jill all of this, honestly. If there was nothing wrong with it, Billy should have called Jill immediately. He should have kept her in on the loop about everything that was going on, and he should have got Jill on his side from the beginning. Of course, who knows if she would have taken his side. Well, Jill calls Billy, and she tells him to fix it. She sees everything that he has done as a mistake, and he needs to fix it. She is going to be back in Genoa City for Abby and Devon's wedding, and before she gets back, Billy needs to fire Phyllis and rehire Lily. And, well, who cares about Chance? He's gone. He's fine. He's doing his calling. Which is flubbing things for the GCPD. I do feel bad for Phyllis. Because Phyllis walked in on the conference call, and she heard Jill saying that Jill doesn't trust Phyllis. But Phyllis didn't realize until later that her head was on the chopping block and that Billy was going to bring down the axe. Phyllis is so excited about this job. Phyllis thought that she and Billy were ride or die. And granted, there was enough evidence initially that that wasn't true. I think Phyllis saw this as us, we, our company, we're in this together. But Billy was always very clear with her that he was numero uno. And she really wasn't hearing it. Phyllis just wanted that piece of power. But Billy was immediately willing to comply with Jill's request. I mean, he was just like, well, sorry, I know this means everything to you, but bye. Billy was not, however, planning to comply with Jill's request to rehire Lily. So, I mean, why comply with anything at all? I just think it was pitiful to watch Phyllis plead for her job. I mean, she was willing to take no pay just to keep this job. And oh yeah, would now be a good time to ask you to hire my son too? She has no sense of appropriate timing. Phyllis just... it's a Phyllis world. She is all about Phyllis all the time. And she has no problem asserting her needs when exactly it occurs to her that she needs it. It's admirable in a strange way. I have this weird, like, politeness about me. I need to just get rid of that. Oh. Yeah, Phyllis, though, I mean, she's not giving up. That's one thing that she said about herself in the flashback episode that it is abundantly clear. She does not give up. She thinks she is going to work some magic behind the Chancellor Abbott curtain and then just pop out for the applause. And everyone's going to realize what a spectacular team that she and Billy have made. But I have serious doubts that either Phyllis or Billy are going to come out on top here at all. Phyllis was Billy's only ally. I mean, Sally's kind of becoming a runner-up. But it's more, I think, in a romantic way, that, you know, less of a business way. I mean, they did do some side-by-side working in the park this week. Can anyone else see a tablet screen or a computer screen while outside? That must really be killing their battery life, but okay. The problem for Billy, and maybe this is where Sally kind of factors in too. The problem for Billy is now Adam has been given carte blanche to go after him. Victor finally called in the favor. Victor needs Newman Media's head honcho to do a hatchet job on Billy. Victor wants Adam to crush Billy Boy in the press and also smooth over the fact that Audra was fired from Glissade. We'll just sweep that under the rug, and that's fine. But Adam put two and two together and realized that everything Victor is asking him to do is a connected part of one big plan, one big anti-Abbott plan that includes hurting Jack. And Jack is the one person who Adam swore that he would not come after. And in fact, he made it a condition of taking the job. And Adam had this great conversation with Jack this week about parenthood. And it's like, Jack is the father that Adam never had. Like, this is such an important dynamic, and it's a dynamic that I wish would continue forever. Like, don't drop Adam and Jack's storyline. Don't only bring that up for plot. Adam and Jack, that is such an important connection to make, not only for the plot as it serves the show, but as the characters, for the characters. It really adds a layer of depth underneath those family relationships. If Adam sees Jack as the father he never had, I mean, it puts a whole underlying new, delicious, savory aspect to the rivalry between the two families. Adam tried talking to Michael about it all. Michael, whose hair is looking so good. I mean, looking back in the flashbacks at Christian LeBlanc from you know, that scene where Phyllis was eating ice cream and like, I'm pregnant, I don't know who the daddy is. Michael was in that scene and he looks better today than he did 30 years ago. The hair is incredible. But Adam was talking to Michael about the whole Victor situation. He was trying to get some information out of Michael about what Victor's strategy might be. And Michael tried arguing that Victor simply sees Kyle as a son, which is it's the flip coin. It's the flip side of the coin to Adam seeing Jack as a father, Kyle seeing Victor as a father. Like, this is so good. Play this up, Y&R. Like, really, let's get, I mean, unfortunately, though, I don't feel the bond between Kyle and Victor because Victor only has one dimension at this point. I mean, it's like, hooray for anyone who feels like Victor Newman's son. I mean, what's that gonna get you? Ultimately, it's a Victor world, and Victor is gonna do what Victor wants, and you're gonna do what Victor wants, or you're gonna be left out in the cold. Jack and Diane would make great guests on, like, the Maury Povich show. If this were 1994, Like, one of those talk shows back in the day that always highlights dysfunctional families. I could just see Jack and Diane ripping into each other on a stage. And that's essentially what it was this week. They were arguing all over town. They were arguing at the coffee house, arguing at the athletic club. Gee, I hope Diane doesn't turn up dead. I hope nobody discovers her body floating in the Galewood River, because if it does, somebody better search Jack's house for the bloody towels. That last fight at the athletic club was deliciously viciously. It was a deliciously viciously fight. I mean, honestly, for the last couple of weeks, it has mostly been Diane giving Jack the cold shoulder face. But that fight at the athletic club had Jack dropping some bombs and ripping Diane to shreds. He was saying that he was wrong about her all along. All she ever wanted was a position of power at Jabot. She never cared about him and Kyle. Kyle, the son that she abandoned. I mean, that was a major turn on Jack's part for him to even say those words, let alone think them. And for him to make such an extreme statement, so many extreme statements, the stakes had to be high. Now, there are two things that tipped me off that this was all part of Jack and Diane's plan, that these are staged arguments. As you know, people, Y&R chatters certainly figured out over the course of the week that these were staged arguments. It hasn't been revealed yet, but I think that's a pretty good guess. And even next week, it looks like they're going to continue to keep up this ruse. Diane is bursting through the front door, telling Tracy that Jack has told her to move out. No, I don't buy it. And here's what my personal tip-offs were. The first one is the fact that everyone in town was watching this argument. It had to be where everyone was there. It was like a ringling circus. I mean, literally everyone who even had a peripheral stake in the story was in the background gasping in awe. It had to be believable, and it had to be very public. Check. The second thing that tipped me off that these were staged arguments, and this is the bigger thing, it was seeing Kyle's reaction to his parents arguing. I mean, we all know deep down, Mommy and Daddy mean everything to Kyle. Mommy and Daddy's opinion means everything to Kyle. And Kyle has not shown a shred of humility, remorse, nothing like that for months now. Not toward anyone. He has just been like a one-man mommy daddy revenge machine. But in the athletic club, as he watched Jack and Diane arguing, Kyle had this little glimmer of regret on his face. It was like, oh no, I did this to him. It was like he felt guilty. Like maybe that wasn't part of the plan. Like he wanted to prove himself, but he wasn't trying to destroy their relationship, something that meant so much to them both. That was an unintended consequence. And that's what makes it a really great plan by Diane and Jack, because they had nothing on Kyle for corporate theft. No evidence. As Jack said, surely Kyle was smart enough to have his chemists tweak the formula just enough so that it, they would not, and analyzing the product, there's no direct link. So they had nothing on Kyle. Oh, Diane told Kyle to his face that she wanted to press charges against him, but at the end of the day, they have no evidence. So going for the gut was really the only option that they had And I'd say that Diane and Jack hit gut. Audra has taken a real confidence hit over losing Glissade. But she got a real nifty pep talk from Nate this week to help pump her back up. He stood her right in front of a full-length mirror and said, "Audra Charles, let me help remind you of who you are." Yes, please. I don't know about you, but I needed that. I need to be reminded of who Audra is because, frankly, she is unrecognizable to me right now. She practically begged Jack to help her get Glissade back. She gave him old news that Victor is the not-so-secret investor of Glissade. And then when Jack said, "No thanks, I don't want a partnership with you," she freaked out and said that, I violated my NDA in order to bring this information to you, and can't you just help me anyway? It was pitiful. Absolutely pitiful. And I love Audra. I just don't like Audra all that much right now. I mean, she is reaping what she sowed. There is no doubt about that. She screwed over Tucker, and then Victor screwed over her. It's the wheel of karma. It's completely appropriate. But she had me with her passion for the beauty products, for her vision for a company. And all of that just got crushed right under the weight of the feud that she had with Kyle. And now I feel like she's just spinning in that karmic wheel in the mud. Her karmic wheel is just spinning in the mud, Jack told her that she will never beat Victor Newman, and she will most likely never get Glissade back. And I think he's right. I think Jack was absolutely right. Audra is not a billionaire. And unless she knows another billionaire, she is not going to get anybody else to buy that company, get control of it, and then hire her. Besides, is that what she really wants? She had that arrangement with Victor and with Tucker, and it wasn't what she really wanted. Audra wants total control. And unless she starts something on her own, she is never going to get it. Audra really needs to funnel her passion into something new, and she needs to do it quick before that beautiful pink sunset of inspiration goes down on her for good. Life is too short to put off joy. I thought that was a really great quote, really great ironic moment coming from Sharon. It's like, rejuvenated after having covered up Heather's murder. She feels so much better now that she covered up the murder and she's pinned it all on Daniel. Sharon is feeling great joy right now. Life's too short, said by a woman who just supposedly took someone's life. 7 people guessed that correctly, and so I really have to give extra congratulations to Kamna, Henry, Justin, Ron, Dolores, Diane K, and Brittany. I think that one was pretty tricky, and you guys got it. Let's see if you get this one. You have to get creative if you want something bad enough. Could be anyone, but who said it? You have to get creative if you want something bad enough. If you think you know who said it, you should go to yrchat.com, leave your guess, and if you get it right, I will give you your shout out during next week's Y&R Chat. And now onto your comments. Victoria says, Lily must be taking a page from Audra's book. Audra acts so confident, but then misses the signs and makes dumb mistakes. For example, not accepting Tucker's offer to take Glissade. Yeah, really. It's like Lily and Audra, they've both got all the gumption. They've got all the spark, all the stuff, and then they just mess up on something simple. Naomi says Lily still thinks she's going to outsmart Victor. He won't see it coming. Whatever gets you through the day, Lily. It makes no sense. Lily's plan to go after Billy right after Victor screwed her over makes no sense. Lakani says, okay, I'm beginning to get mad over Billy. He certainly must be held accountable for his past behavior, but he's a good dad. He has been trying to protect his mother's health and improve a family business. Why are they unable to forgive and keep unfairly finding fault with him? I'm Team Billy for this storyline. Lily was backstabbing. Chance was giving ultimatums, and Jill wasn't calling her son for updates. Yet Billy is the problem? You know, that is an excellent point, Connie. I mean, yeah, I think Billy probably could have kept Jill in the loop more, but I mean, maybe she didn't want that. I don't know. I think you're right that people just can't seem to stop judging Billy by his past, and yet everybody else is so quick to say, hey, I'm not that person anymore. Well, how come Billy doesn't get to be that person and doesn't get to stop being that person too? Diana says, why didn't Billy tell Jill that he was not being paranoid when he fired Lily about imagining that she was going to double cross him? He should have told her the truth, that Lily admitted she was going to have him ousted from the company. There is no better reason to have someone fired if they can't be trusted. That's ridiculous. Billy is not being clear about what Lily did is factual. Not imagine that what she did was factual, not imagined by Billy. Integrity is everything, Jill. Billy needs to stand up to his mother and not let her treat him like an incompetent child. Yeah, it is cringy, isn't it, the way that Jill treats Billy? It's kind of no wonder. He does have that whole spoiled brat air about him. But I think it's caused by Jill. But you make a great point, Diana, that it's like, okay, well, why didn't Billy lay out the evidence for his thinking? Because he certainly had some. Sherrod says, Jill knows what happened with Lily being fired, and she most definitely knows who was really doing the work for her company. Jill knows that Billy is not capable of running a company, and that is why she asked Lily to run it. Sorry, guys, blood is not always thicker than common sense. You know, it is true. Jill just does not really trust Billy. She wanted Lily to run the company with a side of Billy, not the other way around. I wonder how you guys are feeling about that. Let's make that our poll question for the week. Do you think that Jill should give Billy autonomy at Abbott Chancellor? Does he deserve a chance to run this company for her? Or do you think that he's not the best choice to run the company and Jill should pick someone else or maybe sell it? What do you think? Are you Team Billy this week? YRChat.com is where you can vote. Sue W says, I am Team Billy. Many chatters have continually griped about him and sometimes his sleazeball antics. Ick, sleeping with Summer. Ew. But what can I say? I'm just a sucker for his handsome face and sexy smile. Billy wants to be a good guy, and that goes a long way in my book, as long as he keeps that foremost in all that he does. Yeah, you know, Sue W, I love you. Just bring it right down to that level. You know what? He's handsome. So let's like him. You also made a point, Sue W, and I didn't write it down, but I do think it's worth noting that it's almost like the whole thing with Lily has this lover scorned thing about it. I don't know. There's just you can't ignore the fact that Billy and Lily had a relationship and it didn't work out. And maybe I feel like Lily kind of wanted to work with Billy in the first place because he is so handsome and he is so charming. And then the dynamic kind of changed and it was a power struggle. And I think both of them just really wanted to win. And in the end, it's probably to the company's detriment that was going on. Well, let's talk about that Phyllis tribute episode. Tanya says, wow, what an episode. Congratulations to the Phyllis actor on 30 years on the show. Wow, 30 years. I was 1 year old 30 years ago. I started watching Y&R in the beginning of January of 2012, so most of the stories in the flashback were new to me. It was interesting to know more about Phyllis. Phyllis is right about Sharon, and I'm ready for Phyllis to get Sharon. It's a really heartfelt episode, and congratulations to the actress. You know, Tanya, that's so great because when you watch the show and you're watching a flashback episode, there's a difference between, I'm watching a flashback that sparks a memory of the show for me from 30 years ago. But it's a completely different audience of people who are watching it from a perspective of, I've never seen this before. I didn't know this about the actress. I've never had a chance to see these scenes. I didn't know this era of Phyllis. So that's two completely different types of fans watching the same thing, and that's so special. It's just so cool and so special that we're, even if you watch the show for all the 30 years or the 50 years, or if you just started watching, not even that long ago, even a couple years ago, that there's something for everyone in those flashbacks, and just the fact that Y&R has that incredible vault of old scenes and that the actors are still on the show, and that it's relevant to pull those old scenes and show them today. It's just nowhere else besides daytime will you find that. Diana says, I was happy when they showed that scene where Phyllis dressed as a man. I remembered a while back I'd mentioned it on here that I had read that Phyllis had done this, and Allie read my comment and mentioned that she didn't recall this. I was watching at that time as I had stopped at one point, and apparently Phyllis did this in order to get off on murder charges against her. She also dressed as a reporter named Sandra King to get off the charges and was successful. I'm so glad you brought this up, Diana, because, first of all, I did not remember Phyllis dressing as a man at all, and I had to really squint to even tell that it was Michelle Stafford in either. I literally had a moment of like, what's my watching here? And I thought we were watching a Michelle Stafford flashback. Who's this person? It completely fooled me. In the day, I'm sure it didn't, because I was in the story and I understood what was happening. But just watching those disguises out of context were like, what? But yeah, I went and looked that up, and I don't know, Phyllis was involved in some kind of murder. It had something to do with Damon, who I remember, and Dominic, who I don't remember, but whatever. There was a murder and she was being charged with it, and so I don't remember exactly why she dressed up as the man or dressed up as the reporter, but wow, those were some get-ups. So good. Dolores says, most of the time I have found myself a little annoyed with Phyllis and her antics, but now I must cheer her on and embrace her fully with love and admiration. She has won me over big time. Yes, she is pushy and interfering in her children's lives, but you cannot question or doubt that she is loyal, loving, and devoted to them at all times, regardless. If there is anyone or any event that would bring harm or hurt to them, her mama bear temperament kicks in. Her stated mantra is, no one messes with my family, and she fully backs it up. This is unconditional love, not what I continually see from the great Victor Newman. I wonder, does he know how to love his family and children without setting boundaries to meet his expectations? Can he fully love with no reservations? Yeah, and we had that, Dolores, great comment, and we had the scene, the argument between Jack and Victor this week, and last week, or was it this week, last week, Jack was telling Claire about Victor, and he remarked that the one thing that Victor and I have in common is our unconditional, our love for our families first. And you make a great point that Phyllis really is in that camp. She is the leader of her family. Danny, we're going to see next week, but he's not around on the rag. Phyllis has a family now. She actually is the matriarch of, she's got Daniel and Summer, and now she's got this next generation, her granddaughter, who's actually calling her granny now, which is weird and just like went through my ears. But yeah, she really steps it up when it comes to protecting her family. I'm not sure that the same philosophy applies when it comes to Victor, for instance. Well, Sharon W. says, I just want to give a huge shout out to Allison Lanier, who's been doing a fantastic job playing Summer on our wonderful Young and the Restless. She truly doesn't seem to be acting. She seems so believable in every scene with every colleague. She is especially likable with Phyllis and Daniel. You can see her sorrow at hearing about the loss of Daniel's wife and Lucy's mother, and she has brought us along with her as she has maneuvered from being incredibly angry at her mother to being close to her again and relying on her support. We can look forward to much more intense scenes while she trusts and depends on Chance to be fair and supportive to Daniel and Lucy. Oh my gosh, I'm really glad that you said this week, Sharon W., because it's such a big week for Daniel, such a big week for Phyllis, and there's Summer just quietly and expertly and stealthily supporting and bringing just a subtle realness and believability and sensitivity to it all. I love this Summer. I love Allison as Summer. She is my favorite Summer. She has slipped so seamlessly into this role, and she's just there. It's just comfortable. And I think it's worth being said when someone's just doing a quietly excellent job. So thank you for saying it. T. Nicole says, why hasn't Chance followed up for an alibi for Sharon? If Chance knows that she saw Heather the night she died, why would he not ask Sharon what time she went to the apartment and how long she was there? And then follow up with family if they can help match her alibi. Why is Chance assuming Sharon is telling him the truth, but Daniel is lying about being framed? Also, do we know how Sharon got Heather's passcode to get into her phone? Also, if Chance said there's no appearance of a break-in, how did Sharon so easily pick a lock into the apartment and not have the police see her from any form of that? Would the autopsy of Heather get so detailed that the police can get a pretty close estimate time of death and realized it happened when Daniel was at the movies and that was the same time Sharon said she was there? Those are just way too rational questions, Tina Cole. You're just asking all the questions that the cops should be asking and aren't. Sharon W. says, now that the blood and gore part of the Heather, Daniel, Lucy story is behind us, the mystery of the horrible event is heating up. I'm hoping that Phyllis will be integral in finding the clues and evidence that Chance needs to begin to show Sharon's guilt. I would love to see Phyllis stalking and following Sharon on her own. Something that Nick, Mariah, and Faith should have done in the first place. Phyllis will be able to make Sharon squirm in a way that Chance can't. Also, hoping that Chance will be open to listening to what Heather's family have to say when they recount to him how belligerent and out of character Sharon has been acting for several weeks, not to mention her multiple disappearing acts. Sharon W. I would way rather see Phyllis sussing this situation out over Chance. I mean, Chance bling bloobity blow. But Phyllis getting up in Sharon's face and making her sweat in a way that only Phyllis can. I really hope that's how all of this goes down. Daisy says, I think that if Sharon discovers that Phyllis is onto her, she'll go after Phyllis. Sharon will do anything to protect her secret. She already killed Heather, and she liked her, so hurting Phyllis wouldn't be such a stretch. And when Phyllis goes missing, people will think she's run off again. Except for Michael, who'd likely start to look at the evidence in Phyllis's disappearance and also in Heather's death. You know, you're right, Daisy. First of all, yeah, I could see Phyllis going for, or I could see Sharon going for Phyllis. But also I love your point that Michael should maybe be involved here. I mean, that's Phyllis's best friend. He's Mr. Law. Surely he's got some tips. So maybe Phyllis can pull Michael in on this investigation. Chance, just move over. The cops are always there as a formality. There's always holes in everything and anything the cops are doing. We need Phyllis to come in here and boom. And this is great too, because I think, last year at this time, Phyllis was working really hard to prove that she's not that person anymore after she faked her own death and her family hated her. And look at how full circle it's come. Now she is this matriarch, bonding the family together, wanting to fix the situation for them. And I have no doubt that she will. Calmness says, hats off to Sharon Case for taking this storyline. It's courageous because it's going to take her character a long time to come back from it. She's been so calculating with the setup, and we can't just blame the Cameron in her head anymore. My wish is to see Phyllis and Christine team up to defend Daniel and nail Sharon. Hey, Kamna, that's a great idea. If Danny's coming back next week, is there any chance that Cricket will come back? And could she be the one to actually team up with Phyllis to save Daniel and bust Sharon out? The only thing I do have to say is I just think at the end of the day, they're going to reveal evidence that Sharon didn't kill Heather. She disposed of the body, there's no doubt about that, but I just feel like, that's a big hole. How did Heather die? We don't really know. I feel like they're going to reveal it, and it's not going to have been Sharon. I also still don't rule it out that they're going to just decide this is a dream. Hey, last week I asked you guys if we should think about keeping Lyndon Ashby, the Cameron guy who plays Cameron, around. I closed that poll on a 50-50 vote. I can't believe it. 50% of you want to keep him around. 50% of you say no, get rid of him. Marianne V says no. Cameron has done his job. Getting Sharon to kill Heather and framing Daniel so that he goes to jail for life if any of that really happens. I don't need to see Cameron stay around, but I would like to see the actor stay around. But how about this from Tony, who says, I would like to see Cameron be the bad guy conscience that everybody has. He's touched other character storylines and could pop in and out trying to get them to do evil. He's never had a story with Audra. I'd love to see him pop into her thoughts, and then she just chats up like, yeah, you got some good points, but need a bit of polish, and they're smirking together all of a sudden. I love that. I think that's fun, that Cameron just becomes everybody's dirty conscience. The devil on everybody's shoulder. Wow. Naomi says, hey, at least one good thing is developing from Sharon murdering Heather in that storyline. The friendship between Faith and Lucy. Friendship and support until the truth is revealed. And then how will they deal with the knowledge of my mom killed your mom and it's your fault. My mom's in prison. Or your mom killed my mom and now I'm going to make your life miserable by stalking you. Or moms are not a reflection of us. We are new besties. Anyway, it's written, this could be a new generation of long-standing feuds and friendships. Yes, this could be one of those storylines that just becomes one of those pivotal moments for the show that just spiders out in many directions. I like that Lucy and Faith are close now, but you bring up a great question. How long is it going to last when the truth comes out? Well, one final comment, and it's from Connie, who says, Dear Y&R Wardrobe Department, when it is fall in Wisconsin and everyone in Genoa City is wearing long sleeves and jackets, why is Phyllis in a sleeveless summer dress? Michelle Stafford can look sexy in a flour sack dress, so please dress her appropriately for the season. Oh, I was thinking the same thing about that sleeveless dress. I was also thinking, yeah, why are we spending family time outside in the park at night in late October? hey, at least fall did arrive. I did notice this week or last week, suddenly little fall decorations started popping up all over the place. So that's also nice to see. Think there's any chance that we're gonna get a Halloween party or a fall festival? I don't know. I feel like Y&R gave us Halloween early with the murder of Heather. That's probably all we're gonna get. Oh, well, that's all I've got. I think it's time for you to go to yrchat.com and leave me your comments for the week. You can be commenting today. You can be commenting all next week as the story is developing. yrchat.com is the place to be. And I will be back here next Sunday to give you another Y&R chat about the previous week. Okay, well, I love you guys, and I hope that you are enjoying some gorgeous fall weather, and I hope that you have a beautiful week. See you next time. Bye.